The air in the house felt wrong. Thick. Still. Not my house. It usually vibrated with the quiet hum of us. Just him, just Julian and me. Even when we weren't in the same room. But today, silence screamed. I dropped my bag, the sound echoing way too loudly. Julian? My voice was tight, a threadbare string. No answer. He usually worked from home on Tuesdays. I pictured him at his desk, brow furrowed over some code, maybe humming along to whatever obscure jazz station he'd found. I moved through the living room, a growing knot forming in my stomach. Everything seemed normal, but normal in a staged way, like a set designed to look lived in, but utterly devoid of life. Then I saw it, the emptiness where his leather jacket always hung by the door, the space on the shoe rack where his hiking boots usually sat, scuffed from our weekend trips. I ran upstairs. Our bedroom, our sanctuary, now a crime scene. His side of the closet was bare. His toiletries were gone from the bathroom. The framed photo of us on our wedding day, the one I loved, the one where he was laughing so hard, his eyes crinkled, was missing from the nightstand. Panic clawed at my throat. Julian, I screamed his name, but it was just a desperate, broken sound swallowed by the suffocating silence. I fumbled for my phone, my hands shaking so badly I could barely dial. Ring! Ring! Ring. Straight to voicemail. No ringing. Just that cold, automated voice telling me he wasn't available. He never turned his phone off. Never. Back downstairs, my eyes darted around, searching for something. Some explanation. A note? Anything. Then I saw the papers on the dining table. Crisp, official looking. Divorce papers. My vision blurred, and underneath, a single folded sheet of paper. His handwriting. I knew it so well. Every slant, every curve. My hands trembled as I unfolded it. One sentence, scrawled in harsh, angry strokes. This is what you do with cheaters. The words slammed into me like a physical blow. The air left my lungs. The room started to spin. I sank to the floor, the divorce papers scattering around me like fallen leaves. He was gone. Just like that. 10 years. Gone! Because of one stupid, reckless mistake. One moment of weakness that had detonated my entire life. Tears streamed down my face, hot and stinging. I was alone. Utterly, devastatingly alone. And it was all my fault. The lawyer's name was Mr. Abernathy. A cold, efficient man with eyes that never quite met mine. He was Julian's pit bull, and I was the trespasser on his property. I called him the day after I found the papers. Desperation clawed at me, a need to understand, to explain, to fix this. Mr. Abernathy, please, I need to talk to Julian. I need to explain. His voice was flat, devoid of emotion. My client has instructed me that he does not wish to have any contact with you, Mrs. Hayes. Even my name, Mrs. Hayes, felt wrong, like a stolen identity. But 10 years, we can't just throw that away. I made a mistake, I know, but I choked on the words. My client is aware of your indiscretion, Mrs. Hayes. He finds it irreparable. He wishes to proceed with the divorce as quickly and painlessly as possible. Painlessly? For him, maybe. What about me? What about us? I was screaming now, my voice cracking. I am merely his legal representative, Mrs. Hayes. I am not privy to his emotional state, nor am I qualified to comment on it. I suggest you retain your own counsel. Counsel? I don't want a lawyer. I want my husband. I want to fix this, he sighed, a sound that grated on my already raw nerves. Mrs. Hayes, with all due respect, your desires are irrelevant. My client's wishes are clear. Further communication with me will be unproductive. He hung up. Just like that! Another door slammed shut in my face. I fought. I screamed. I begged Mr. Abernathy to relay messages, to arrange a meeting, anything. He remained an impassable wall, quoting legal clauses and citing Julian's unwavering resolve. Finally, he said the words that crushed my last remaining hope. Mrs. Hayes, if you continue to harass me, I will be forced to seek a restraining order on my client's behalf. I strongly advise you to obtain legal representation. It would be in your best interest to cease all attempts at direct contact. A restraining order? The thought made me sick. I wasn't a stalker, a crazy ex-wife. I was broken, desperate, a fool who had thrown away everything she held dear. Reluctantly, I found a lawyer, a kind, middle-aged woman named Sarah, who listened patiently to my tearful ramblings. But even Sarah couldn't reach Julian. He refused couples therapy. He refused mediation. He refused to even acknowledge my existence. The divorce dragged on, a slow, agonizing process that chipped away at my soul. I fought it every step of the way. I refused to believe that our love was truly dead. I clung to the hope that, somehow, if I could just reach him, just explain. But the papers were finally signed. The judge banged the gavel. I was officially, irrevocably divorced. I walked out of the courthouse feeling like a ghost. A shell. The world seemed muted, distant. A piece of me, a vital, irreplaceable piece, had been surgically removed, and I knew with a chilling certainty that it would never grow back. The first few weeks after the divorce were a blur of alcohol, sleepless nights, and endless replays of happy memories. Memories that now felt like cruel taunts. Wine became my constant companion. It dulled the edges of the pain, quieted the voices in my head, even if only for a few hours. I'd start with a glass, then a bottle, then another. I barely ate. I couldn't sleep. I was a walking, talking zombie. I knew I was spiraling. My friends worried. My family tried to intervene, but I pushed them all away. I didn't want their pity, their advice, their well-meaning platitudes. I wanted Julian, and he was gone. One morning, I woke up on my couch, covered in a blanket I didn't remember putting there, my head throbbing, my stomach churning. The empty wine bottles on the coffee table mocked me. I looked in the mirror and barely recognized the hollow-eyed, gaunt woman staring back. That was the day I finally called Dr. Evans. Dr. Evans was patient, too patient sometimes. She listened to my endless circular monologues about Julian, about my guilt, about my unwavering hope that he would come back. "You're struggling with a lack of closure, Amelia," she said gently one day. "Your mind can't accept that the relationship is over because you haven't had a chance to process it, to say your piece, to hear his. So you're stuck in this loop, constantly replaying the past, hoping for a different outcome." "But what if there is a different outcome?" I pleaded. "What if he realizes he made a mistake? What if he sees that I'm truly sorry?" Dr. Evans sighed. "Amelia, I understand your hope, but you need to start accepting the reality of the situation. Julian has made his decision. He's moved on, but I can't. He's the love of my life. How can I just move on?" "You can, Amelia. It will be painful and it will take time. But you can. We need to focus on you, on your healing, on building a life that is fulfilling and meaningful without Julian." She encouraged me to try new things, to meet new people, to go on dates. But the thought of being with anyone else felt repulsive. Julian was the only one I wanted, and the only one I couldn't have. "I'm not even interested in sex anymore," I confessed one session. "It feels dirty, like a betrayal, Doctor." Evans nodded sympathetically. "That's understandable, Amelia. You're still grieving. You're still processing the trauma of the betrayal and the loss. These feelings will pass. But you need to allow yourself to grieve, to feel the pain, to work through it." The therapy helped, a little. It kept me from completely drowning in my sorrow. But it didn't bring Julian back. It didn't erase the guilt. It didn't fill the gaping hole in my heart. And it certainly didn't stop me from secretly hoping that one day he would knock on my door and everything would go back to the way it was. That one day I would wake up and he would be there, sleeping beside me, his arm wrapped around me. Nicole came over on Friday night. We'd been friends since college, seen each other through thick and thin. She was the only one who hadn't given up on me completely. We ordered pizza, opened a bottle of wine. I was trying to limit myself to just one, maybe 2 glasses, and settled in for a night of mindless TV. But, as always, the conversation eventually drifted back to Julian. "You need to move on, Amelia," Nicole said, her voice firm. "It's been 2 years. You can't keep living in the past." I know, I mumbled, swirling the wine in my glass. "It's just hard? Hard? It's impossible." "He's over you, Amelia. He's happy. He's got a life now." Something in her voice struck me. The certainty, the knowing tone. It was more than just platitudes. "How do you know that?" I asked, my voice suddenly sharp. She hesitated, avoiding my eyes. "What do you mean? You said he's happy, that he's got a life. How do you know that? Have you talked to him?" She shifted uncomfortably on the couch. "No, not directly." But what? "Nicole, tell me." My heart was pounding in my chest, a mixture of fear and desperate hope. She sighed, finally meeting my gaze. "Amelia, you're not going to like this. Just tell me," I begged, tears welling up in my eyes. Okay. My husband, Samuel, he's been in contact with Julian. They were good friends before all this happened." My mind reeled. Samuel? He hadn't mentioned Julian in years. After the divorce, Samuel became distant. "And? What did Samuel tell you?" I demanded, my voice trembling. Nicole took a deep breath. "Julian, he moved to Norway." "Norway? Why Norway?" "He's married, Amelia. Married?" The room started to spin. "And his wife is pregnant." The words hit me like a physical blow. I gasped, clutching my chest. The air left my lungs. "Pregnant? With his child? How? How could he?" I whispered, tears streaming down my face. "Amelia, I'm so sorry," Nicole said, reaching for my hand. I pulled away, shaking my head. No, this can't be real. It's a nightmare. I'm going to wake up." But I didn't wake up. The reality was stark and cruel. Julian was gone. He was married. He was starting a new family. And I was still stuck in the past, drowning in my sorrow, clinging to a love that was long dead. How could he do this to me? I sobbed, the pain unbearable. We tried for years to have a baby, and now he's having one with someone else? Someone I don't even know? "Amelia, he's moved on," Nicole said softly. "You need to do the same." But I couldn't. I wouldn't. I refused to believe that our love meant nothing. I needed answers. I needed to know why. I needed to talk to Julian. "I have to contact him," I said, my voice trembling with determination. "I have to know what's going on." "Amelia, no," Nicole said, shaking her head. "Don't do that. It's over. Just let it go." But I couldn't let it go. Not yet. I needed to know the truth, even if it destroyed me. The days that followed were a blur of obsessive searching. I scoured the internet for any trace of Julian in Norway. I checked social media, online forums, even news articles. I became a digital detective, driven by a desperate need to understand. I knew it was unhealthy, that I was clinging to a fantasy, but I couldn't stop myself. I needed to know who this woman was, how they had met, why Julian had chosen her over me. My search was hampered by the fact that Julian had completely disappeared from social media. He had deleted his accounts, cut off contact with his family, erased his digital footprint. It was as if he wanted to completely obliterate his past, to start anew. But I refused to give up. I started by focusing on Samuel. Maybe he had some information, some clue that could lead me to Julian. I called Samuel, pretending to be friendly, casual. Hey Samuel, it's Amelia. How are you doing? It's been a while. He sounded wary, guarded. Amelia? Yeah, it has been a while. What's up? I was just wondering how you're doing. And I was thinking about Julian. I heard he moved to Norway. Yeah, he did, Samuel said, his voice flat. Do you know how he's doing? I've been trying to reach him, but I can't find him anywhere. I'm sorry, Amelia. I can't help you. Julian doesn't want to talk to you. But why? I just want to understand. I want to apologize. I need closure. Closure? You think you deserve closure? You cheated on him, Amelia. You broke his heart. He doesn't owe you anything. His words stung, but I refused to back down. Please, Samuel, just tell me where he is. I promise I won't bother him. I just need to see him, to talk to him one last time. I can't do that, Amelia. It's not my place. Just let him go. Let him be happy. He hung up. Another dead end? Frustrated and desperate, I turned to a more unconventional method. I created a fake Instagram account using a generic profile picture and a fake name. Then, I followed some of Julian's distant relatives, aunts, cousins, people he barely knew. I spent hours scrolling through their feeds, hoping to find a picture, a comment, anything that could lead me to Julian. It was a long shot, but I was running out of options. Days turned into weeks. My obsession consumed me. I neglected my work, my friends, even my own basic needs. All I could think about was Julian. Then, one day, I struck gold. One of Julian's cousins posted a picture of her family visiting Norway. In the background, blurred and partially obscured, I saw a figure that looked eerily familiar. It was a man, tall and lean, with the same distinctive gait as Julian. He was standing near a group of people, talking and laughing. I couldn't see his face clearly, but I knew, with a certainty that went bone deep, that it was him. My heart leaped with a mixture of excitement and dread. I had found him. But what was I going to do now? The photo was a grainy, low-resolution image, but it was enough to give me a starting point. The location tag on the post led me to a small town on the west coast of Norway, a town I'd never heard of. I spent hours researching the town, looking for any information about Julian. I checked local news sites, online directories, even social media groups, but I found nothing. Then, I remembered something Nicole had said, that Julian's wife was pregnant. I started searching for maternity groups in the area, hoping to find a picture, a name, anything that could help me identify her. It was a long shot, but I was desperate. After hours of searching, I finally found something. A picture of a woman with a baby bump posted on a local parenting forum. Her name was Astrid. Her profile picture was small and blurry, but something about her face seemed familiar. I clicked on her profile and found a link to her Facebook page. My breath caught in my throat. It was her, the woman in the picture with Julian's cousin, the woman in Norway, the woman who was carrying his child. I clicked on her Facebook page and started scrolling through her photos. She was different, not at all what I had expected. She wasn't beautiful, not in the conventional sense. She was tall and lanky, with pale skin and blonde hair pulled back in a tight ponytail. She wore glasses and had a serious, almost stern expression on her face. Her interests were unusual. She was a mechanical engineer, a fan of heavy metal music, and a nature enthusiast. Her photos were filled with pictures of mountains, forests, and metal band t-shirts. I felt a strange mix of relief and disappointment. Relief that she wasn't some glamorous, ethereal beauty. Disappointment that she was so ordinary. But as I scrolled through her photos, I started to see something else. A quiet strength, a sharp intelligence, a genuine passion for life. She seemed authentic, real, and then I found it. A picture of Astrid and Julian, dressed in formal attire, standing in front of a beautiful church. They were holding hands, smiling at each other. It was their wedding photo. The caption read, "1 year ago today, I married the love of my life. Thank you for making me the happiest woman in the world. 1 year." They had been married for a year, which meant they had gotten married just a few months after Julian had left me. My heart sank. It was all happening so fast. He had moved on so quickly. He had found someone else. He had built a new life. And I was still stuck in the past, clinging to a love that was never coming back. But the wedding photo wasn't the only thing that shook me. There was another photo, a group photo taken at a party. Astrid was standing next to Julian, her arm around his waist, her hand resting on his shoulder. He looked relaxed, happy. His family members were in the shot. They were smiling. The caption revealed it was from February 2023. That meant, only 9 months after Julian walked out, that Astrid had already been introduced to his family. It shattered everything I thought I knew. Then it all clicked. His new life wasn't an act of revenge, as I had bitterly believed. It was a testament to finding love again. He was happy, truly happy, and I wasn't a part of it. I never would be. The pregnancy hit me harder now, not because I couldn't have kids, but because he never really gave our fertility issues a chance to truly blossom. It was too easy to blame it on bad luck when I had been running around with someone else behind his back. It was easy to say it was unexplained infertility, but maybe it was just the universe's way of saying it wasn't meant to be. The questions swirled in my head, a tormenting vortex of doubt and regret. I had lost him. I had lost everything. And now he was starting a new chapter, one that I would never be a part of. I spent the next few weeks in a state of emotional paralysis. I couldn't eat. I couldn't sleep. I couldn't even bring myself to get out of bed. I was numb, hollowed out. "Doctor." Evans urged me to do something, anything, to break the cycle of despair. She suggested writing Julian a letter. "Not to send," she clarified, "just to get your feelings out, to say everything you need to say. It's a way to process your emotions, to gain some closure." Reluctantly, I agreed. I sat down at my computer and started typing. The words poured out of me, a torrent of grief, guilt, and regret. I apologized for my betrayal, for the pain I had caused him. I acknowledged my mistakes, my selfishness, my blindness. I confessed that I still loved him, that I always would. But I also acknowledged that it was over, that he had moved on, that I needed to do the same. I congratulated him on his marriage, on his impending fatherhood. I wished him happiness, genuine happiness, even though it tore me apart to say it. I wrote for hours, pouring my heart and soul into the letter. When I was finished, I read it over, tears streaming down my face. It was a mess, a jumbled, incoherent mess. But it was honest. It was real. I printed it out, folded it carefully, and tucked it away in a drawer. I didn't know what to do with it. I didn't know if I would ever send it. Then, one day, something unexpected happened. Sabrina called. "Amelia," she said, her voice hesitant. I heard about what happened. About Julian, about his wife, about the baby." "Yeah," I said, my voice flat. "It's all true. I'm so sorry, Amelia," she said. "I feel terrible. I should have told you sooner. I should have helped you." "It's okay, Sabrina," I said, even though it wasn't. "It's too late now." "Maybe not," she said. I know how to get in touch with Julian." My heart leaped in my chest. "What? How?" "He still talks to Samuel," she said. "I can ask Samuel to give him your letter." "If you want." I hesitated. Was it a good idea? Would it make things better or worse? But then I remembered Dr. Evans' words. Closure. The first needed closure. And maybe, just maybe, this was my chance to get it. "Okay, Sabrina," I said, my voice trembling. "Yes, please ask Samuel to give him my letter." 2 weeks later, I received an email. It was from an address I didn't recognize. I opened it with trembling hands. It was from Julian. He wrote that he had received my letter and appreciated my apology. He said it had been difficult to read, but that it had also given him some closure. He explained why he had left so abruptly, why he had cut off all contact. He said that the pain of my betrayal had been unbearable, that he couldn't face me without saying things he would later regret. Then, he revealed something that shocked me to my core. He had known about my affair for weeks before he left. He had seen the texts on my phone, the deleted messages, the secret rendezvous. It wasn't just one mistake, as I had been telling myself. He had always kept himself in his lane, only texting to ask how the divorce proceedings were going, only texting about money. In reality, I was an emotional mess. He also wrote about Astrid. He said that they had met at a heavy metal concert in Norway, just a few months after he had left me. She had been a source of comfort and support during a difficult time. They had bonded over their shared interests, their shared pain. He explained that Astrid had also struggled with fertility issues in a previous relationship. They weren't actively trying to have a baby, but she had become pregnant unexpectedly. They were both thrilled. He wished me well, he forgave me, but he made it clear that our chapter was closed. He asked me not to contact him again, to move on with my life. The email was painful, but it was also freeing. It was the closure I had been craving. It was the confirmation that it was truly over. And it was the beginning of the end. I read the email one last time, then closed my laptop. I took a deep breath, and finally, for the first time in 2 years, I felt a glimmer of hope. It was time to let go. It was time to move on. It was time to start living my own life. Without Julian, it was time to forgive myself. The months that followed were a journey of self-discovery. I continued with therapy, working through my guilt, my regret, my lingering feelings for Julian. I started focusing on myself, on my own needs and desires. I took up yoga, started painting again, rekindled old friendships. I even started dating. Nothing serious, just casual encounters. I met some interesting people, some nice people, but no one who made me feel the way Julian had. But that was okay. I realized that I didn't need to find another Julian. I needed to find myself. I deleted my fake Instagram account and stopped monitoring his family's social media. I let go of the fantasy, the hope, the what-ifs. I accepted that Julian was gone, that he was happy, that he was starting a new life, and that I needed to do the same. It wasn't easy. There were still days when I missed him terribly, days when I felt overwhelmed by grief, days when I wondered if I would ever truly be happy again. But I kept going. I kept working on myself. I kept moving forward. And slowly, gradually, I started to heal. I started to find joy in the little things. I started to feel like myself again. One day, I was walking through the park, enjoying the sunshine, when I saw a young couple pushing a stroller. They were laughing, smiling, completely absorbed in each other. For a moment, I felt a pang of sadness. I thought about Julian, about his new baby, about the life I had lost. But then, I smiled. I realized that I was okay, that I was strong, that I was capable of happiness. I had survived. I had learned. I had grown. And I was ready for whatever the future held. I had finally forgiven myself. And that was the greatest gift of all. 3 years passed. 3 years of conscious effort, of therapy, of slow, incremental healing. 3 years of building a life that was, if not exactly what I had envisioned, still good. My own. I'd started painting again, something I'd abandoned after the divorce. Doctor! Evans had encouraged it, a way to express the emotions I'd bottled up for so long. It began as a messy, cathartic release, swirling colors and angry brushstrokes reflecting the turmoil within. But slowly, as I healed, my art evolved. The colors softened. The lines became more defined. The subjects shifted from abstract anguish to landscapes, portraits, quiet moments of beauty. I even started showing my work. Small galleries, local art shows. Nothing major, but a validation nonetheless. A sign that I was creating something meaningful, something that resonated with others. It was at one of these shows, a small, independent gallery opening downtown, that I saw him. My heart stopped. My breath caught in my throat. It was Julian. He was standing across the room near a window, talking to a woman. Not Astrid. A different woman. Younger, with dark hair and a bright, engaging smile. For a moment, I froze, paralyzed by a wave of conflicting emotions. Shock. Fear. A flicker of something else. Something I couldn't quite name. He looked different. Older, of course, but also calmer. More at peace. The lines of tension that had etched themselves around his eyes were gone. He looked happy. He caught my eye. Our gazes locked across the crowded room. A moment stretched out, suspended in time. Then he smiled. A small, tentative smile, but a smile nonetheless. I returned the smile. A nervous flutter in my stomach. He excused himself from the woman he was talking to and started to walk towards me. My palms were sweating. My heart was pounding. What was I going to say? What was he going to say? He stopped a few feet away, a respectful distance. Amelia, he said, his voice a low murmur. Julian, I replied, my voice barely a whisper. An awkward silence descended. Your paintings are beautiful, he said, gesturing towards my display. Thank you, I replied. Yours must be so different, he chuckled. It was a nice sound. A familiar sound. I'm glad you're doing well, he said. I am too. I paused. I heard about your baby, yes, our daughter. Freya. She's 3 now. A whirlwind of energy. And his son would be 5 now. There was a pause. An understanding. She's amazing, I said, almost as if to say something more. It's still a miracle. He is truly happy, and I want you to be happy too. His eyes seem to say it all. His face is full of happiness and joy. His face glows. There was another pause, and suddenly I could feel myself getting emotional. It was a nice chat, and I knew it had to end. I wanted to tell him about how proud he would be, how I finally got my life together. How I still think of him. I knew that it wasn't the time for this. It had been 3 years. It was too late for so many things. Well, thanks for stopping by, I said. I knew I was going to cry at any minute. Of course! I wanted to tell you face to face, Julian replied. Great. Take care of yourself. Take care of Freya and your wife. And just like that, he left. I watched him walk away, back to his new life. His new love. This wasn't a movie scene. There was no declaration of love or regret, just a quiet acknowledgement of the past and a silent farewell. A wave of sadness washed over me, but it was a different kind of sadness. Not the raw, agonizing pain of the past, but a gentle melancholy, a recognition of what had been lost and an acceptance of what was. As the night went on, I mingled with the other guests, sold a few paintings, and even received a promising commission. Life, I realized, was moving forward. With all its joys, its sorrows, its unexpected twists and turns. And I was moving with it. Leaving the gallery that night, I felt a sense of lightness I hadn't experienced in years. The burden of the past had finally lifted. Looking up at the night sky, I smiled. The stars seemed brighter. The air felt cleaner. I didn't know what the future held, but I knew that I was ready for it. Ready to love again. Ready to create. Ready to live. The love of my life taught me that even beautiful things can't last forever.